go to standings.
League and playoffs. Everybody, welcome to Western New York Athletics Center Court Edition, weekly view from Center Court, right? That's the show. See, I'm in a different seat today. I'll discombobulate it.
It was your call. You said, I want you to sit there instead of here.
Well, this is your show.
Following suit.
I'm just, this is your show. We're just hosting it, making it go. So I told Tim, put you in the big chair. I'll go where you're supposed to sit. because people want to see you and hear what you have to say. They give two shits what I'm going to say about high school sports and relates to boys basketball. We're already off to a bad start. Tim said with the foul mouth already. He's already like, oh, dude. But
Tim,
it's
you all
okay.
right with that?
It's basketball. You can swear.
It's a family show.
We'll tell everybody the.
You know what they say inside households and families? That's how they talk.
Exactly. Anyways, this show is brought to you by Empire Electric. Tony Palverani, we thank you for everything you do for us. Logistics Plus, Damon University, Binghamton University, Daniel Cha-Cha, attorneys, personal injury attorneys, if you ever get hurt.
Right?
Daniel Cha-Cha out there in South Park, he's the guy you want to go see.
Is that Adam's father?
Yeah, Hamburg, former player out there.
Yeah.
So anyways, it was a hell of a week, basketball-wise. I mean, you had
A lot of cancellations.
Yeah.
A lot of snow, a lot of cold.
a lot of stuff that happened that, unfortunately, in the winter season, you're going to have these things, cancellations. You're going to have weather. It is what it is.
Yeah. And then you also get things like the Friday night incident I got to watch last week. I left here. I went and got my weekly fish from Curry's. Shout out to Curry's. The greatest German potato salad, Cajun fish, broiled fish ever with mac salad. But,
Wait a second.
what?
You go with the broiled fish,
Cajun broiled.
Okay.
German potato salad.
not deep fried.
No.
Okay, you learn something new every day, Tim. Would you ever order that? Exactly.
Everyone wants
Go
the
on.
fried stuff.
Now I got a sixth question for later.
Trying to extend my life by some years, you know?
Yeah, you're a
No,
glutton.
that's not it.
We'll get into this. We'll get into this.
Yeah, we'll get into it.
Friday was a debacle or no?
Friday was a debacle. I went and watched Williamsville East at Williamsville South, that district rivalry game, and Williamsville South treated it like a district rivalry game, and Williamsville East treated it like a chance to get their secondary players who normally don't start the game a lot of minutes and a lot of chance to shine, and that's what those young men did.
I like the fact the gym was packed.
Gym was packed. The starters for Williamsville East that night combined for 9 points in the game, and that was alarming, you know. But
How the night went, yeah.
Connor's son, he stood out to me from Williamsville East. He came in and played a game. You know, Nate Willemski had a heck of a evening for Williamsville South. Nice all-around game. He was a fantastic 5-question interview, too. I think maybe the best one I've ever had. I mean, Nate just was so
Saying a
loose,
lot.
so happy, easy going, gave fantastic answers to questions. He was fun. Had a good one with Carter Switek, too, last night from OP. Those are fun.
Saturday was the game.
Saturday was the game. Saturday was the big rivalry down on Delaware Avenue. It delivered an absolutely exciting affair for the fans. Packed house, overflow crowd, sold out,
Wait a
all that
minute.
goodness.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Let's go back to Friday night real fast.
Go back to Friday.
I was stiffed by Dean Adams.
Yeah, he didn't show up. I kept calling it friendships. Sorry, everybody. Neighbors.
Yeah.
Neighbors on Kenmore. That's where Dean grabs the mic on Friday nights and does karaoke. But he didn't show, did he?
And I went live at one point, I think, on Facebook with someone that was trying to sing a Frank Sinatra song. I wanted to blow my brains out. I was there. I suffered through 4 or 5 different singers. One was okay.
Uh-huh.
The rest of them they sounded like they were chewing glass as they were singing. The bartender was horrible. He was swearing at the machine, couldn't get it open. He couldn't sling a drink to save his life. Like, the bar was packed, and this guy was moving like molasses, arguing with the cash register that he couldn't figure out. He gave me a drink with ginger ale, the drink I always order with ginger ale. The ginger ale was very flat. Now, as a former bartender, I like to let the bartender know that, hey, dude, just so you know, I'm good with my drink. I'll finish it, of course, but your ginger ale is not good.
Did he do anything to
He looked at
show
me
you
like
evidence that
I was the biggest.
Rail was not, in fact, flat?
He tried to. And I said, I'm just telling you as a former bartender, there's a problem with ginger ale. Well, I'm not going to be able to get to it. Okay, I'm doing you a favor. If someone comes to your bar and orders something with ginger ale, just let them know the ginger ale is not good. It's flat. Don't let them order it. Don't order it because it's going to taste like garbage, like this drink, which I finished.
Just
But-
address the situation. Look, your customers are your lifeline of a business.
The guy was a bag of
Don't take your business for
He was
granted.
a bag of you-know-what, so I will not be returning to Neighbors. Dean singing or no Dean singing.
Not an endorsement for Neighbors.
I gave you a shot.
Very good. Hey, good bartenders are...
Got the worst tip I've ever given anybody. So
good bartenders are good people.
we moved over to Gene's Junkyard where Heidi wanted us to sing We Are the World on karaoke. She tried to get us all, the WNY crew that was there, wanted us to sing We Are the World. It was met with a lot of groans. We didn't do it at Neighbors. We left because the bartender was such a ass. So we ended up going down to Gene's to celebrate some things that were going on in our lives. And we almost sang We Are the World there. Almost. The people in the bar did not appreciate us trying to sing that either, but I'll tell you.
For those of you that don't know the song We Are the World, consider yourselves fortunate.
1980-something.
Yeah.
Anywho's. Then, we had to get up early because we had the Joe's Canisius game, the game of the year. Let's get back to that because this is a Center Court show, not the what did we do in our social lives.
Disgruntled Frank Wolf from Friday show.
Very disgruntled on Friday night, mostly because Dean didn't show up. Then the bartender was a real loser.
The rivalry game on Saturday.
You were saying?
Packed house on Delaware. Joe's builds a 10-point lead in that one. Takes a 8-point lead, an 8-point lead into the final frame. Silence that phone during the Frank Wolf show.
It's Neighbors. Come back. Give us another shot.
Canisius ends up within 5 points, trims that 8-point lead down to 5. We're approaching the 2-minute mark in the game. Jack Cullinan strikes from downtown. We got a 2-point game. Things are getting tense. Now what's going to happen? Joe's going to turn the ball over. Jack Cullinan's waiting for it. Takes it off the other direction. Finishes an impossible layup in transition. Tie game. Next thing you know, they get the stop. Pat Cullinan starts to penetrate. Lots of help comes from the corner, leaving Nick Purdy wide open in the corner. Ball goes to Nick Purdy in the corner. Bang. Canisius wins 51-48. Made for a nice video on Twitter. Props to the Crusaders. They're number one.
I sat next to, for most of that game, I sat on the baseline with Sean Turry. And to the right of me was a gentleman by the name of Levi, who used to write for, I can't remember exactly, one of the community papers, Tonawanda News. Well known, now working with Canisius, and had a good conversation. But I was getting ready to leave when the game was about 8 points, 8 to 10 points separating. And I didn't think Canisius was going to come back, and Sean said, don't leave. Do not leave. Like Sean.
Sean Turry.
Sean Turry.
Wise
Tony.
man. Yeah.
I said, Sean, I got a long way to go. If I leave now, I can get out of this parking lot with no issue and be on the way. I got a long drive ahead of me. He's like, I'm telling you right now, you're not going to want to leave. Something big's going to happen.
Good.
He was right.
Good for Sean.
He was right.
Glad
he got
you can
some great
see that.
photos. So, Kyle Husband, to me, is the best coach we have in Western New York. We have great coaches. But Kyle Husband, just every other time you watch his program, whether they're playing at Timon or at Joe's in very, very, what would you say, unfavorable type conditions where they're right on you, his teams have a way of blocking things out and then executing at just the right moments. And they stick to the game plan. Stick. And it's not one guy dominating. He's uses all 5 guys on the floor, brings a 6-man in, whatever. That team, every single time you think they're out, they come back. And to me, Kyle Husband is just not talked about enough in Western New York because we talk a lot about our football coaches and we do talk about the basketball coaches too, but it's rare, to me at least, that Kyle Husband gets his due in Western New York for all that he does for that program and just his ability to get that team to. We've seen them come down from 20 to Niagara Falls 2 years ago. They beat them again this year, and then they beat this Joe's team, revamped Joe's team, who's been giving it to you all night long. In fact, they missed a few dunks in the game. It could have been worse, but they came back. And then to win that game in the fashion they did and send the Joe's fans home, very upset.
Canisius also regular season swept Timon 2 years ago before Timon beat them in the Cup to win their first championship. They went into South Buffalo last year, won a game at Timon last year, took 1-2 in the regular season, and that Timon team was all loaded last year.
Who did we see at the game last year? Did we see Kadri Olesen at that Timon game? Somebody came in dressed.
Yes, Kadri Olesen.
And I said, man.
Over in the corner. That looks like an NFL player.
That guy looks lost.
They've already earned at least a sweep of the regular season series this year, at least a split, if not a sweep of the regular season series. If you talk to me, if you know me and you are in communication with me, you said that people don't talk enough about Kyle. If you're in my circles, you've heard plenty about Kyle Husband and what I think of him as a coach, and I've never hid from that. A lot of people want to just drop that easy-minded narrative. Well, if I could recruit, if I had his players, and about as short-sighted of words that could come out of your mouth as there could be.
Good.
He's legit. He's good.
Then what do they do on Monday?
Who does?
Well, Kyle and Canisius.
Against who? Who do they got on Monday?
You tell me who they just played on Monday at Hilbert.
Oh, I'm sorry. This last month, I thought we were talking this coming up Monday. On Monday, they got Williamsville South. Yes.
Who's been very good.
Yes, they have been. But they're not Canisius.
They're not in the same league, but still a tough opponent. They made it look easy.
Yeah, and that's what they do. I mean,
that's what I was getting at.
Yeah,
quality opponent, but clearly not in Canisius's league.
Right. There's not a lot of teams in this area that are, unfortunately.
St. Joe's gets a bounce back win over.
This year in particular, there are not a lot of teams that could go out and truly put that fear of God into the Canisius team.
Okay, before we talk about Joe's Health Sciences, because Joe's rebounded nicely.
Mm-hmm.
But what separates Canisius, specifically this team, from the others in our area? What would you say? Is it Kyle, or what is it?
It doesn't need to be specifically this team, but I mean specifically this team, the fact that you've got the majority of the moving pieces on the floor all the time together have been doing it now for a third season together. So this is like a veteran team that has come together. Yes. These are perfect pieces for a Kyle Husband team. You look at the guys that he consistently has at Canisius and the way they play. They're just right for him. That's the kind of guy he likes. He's got 2 Cullinans. Well, he's also got a Cullinan on his bench. So
surrounded by Cullinans.
Yep, that's helping. He's got 2 excellent assistant coaches that have been with him a long time. He's got a third assistant coach who's been with him a short time, who used to play for him, and won a Federation championship and 2 state championships in Stafford Trueheart. He gets it. He understands the game, what it takes to coach, execute. I don't think he does much to waver from how he does his stuff. He's a conditioning first, defense first coach. We start every year with conditioning and defense. That is his model. We'll worry about these kids. He's told me these kids do plenty of shooting on their own. We don't need to practice offense like other programs do. Everyone knows how to shoot the ball. We're going to hang our hat on being in great shape and playing defense. There's a seriousness. There's an approach and a professionalism to Canisius basketball that it stood out for a long time. Those kids walk in, they all have a very similar energy. You don't see them take a lot of gloating technical fouls. They don't over celebrate their success. They act like they've been there. Those are reasons why they are what they are.
Why don't we take a quick first break?
Okay.
Like I'm talking maybe even less than a minute, Tim. 60 seconds. Is that a minute? We'll do a minute, Tim says. All right. We're going to take a quick break. You're watching The View from Center Court Weekly Edition here on Western New York Athletics.
Need an electrician? Empire Electric is your residential wiring specialist. New builds, service upgrades, lighting, generators, you name it, Empire does it with hundreds of 5-star reviews that speak for themselves. Call Empire Electric today for your free estimate.
Education has power. Binghamton University students discover it, apply it, unleash it. Unleash your education today.
We're back. We're back here on the Center Court Weekly Show, if you will.
We really don't have a name to it. Nothing
We
that's
don't, no.
ringing. You know what I mean? We'll come up with something. Center Court Weekly Edition?
Center Court Weekly Edition. Tim has named it the Center Court Weekly Edition, and that is what it shall be called.
Print the shirts.
Producer Tim.
Get the banner made.
Tim Gardner.
Get the trophy.
Thank you, Tim.
Do they still do B. Canny Awards for basketball at the end of the year? Like a basketball...
There's not a banquet.
There was.
Yes, there was. Where was it?
Ilios.
This year? There was a high school basketball?
No, previous.
Yes, for sure. Right. No, there hasn't been a banquet. There used to be a banquet. Are they handing out awards at the end of the year? I'm not aware, honestly.
Okay. We could talk to some people.
Yeah.
We take on a lot with these banquets.
I mean, I'm starting to notice more and more people are popping up and giving various awards, and even the Buffalo News went to 2 all-Western New York teams, was it 2 years ago, where there was a small school team and a large school team. I think they went back to the other mode last year, or maybe they
Just
didn't.
one team?
I don't remember. But things are always changing, right? There's always more people coming on. Here's my All-Stars. Here's this. Here's your Buchanan teams, but it can only be members of Buchanan. And a lot of
Okay. That's goofy. I get it, though.
A lot of
I
hand.
mean, like with the B, when they do the all-B team, you can only be named if you're in...
You're in the B region.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So some of you guys are SOL.
Yep.
Okay. So this is our second segment. Last week you did Canisius Joe's fabulous game with a great outcome. Everyone who went there saw a great game.
Mm-hmm.
Then on Monday we had those games at Hilbert. Canisius continues to win. They beat up Will South, St. Joe's.
Bounced back, took
Yeah.
down Health Sciences pretty handily.
Talk to me
easily,
about the
right?
health sciences program this year, because they've taken a couple of tough losses. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, they really haven't taken. I mean, so the losses they've taken maybe aren't by a margin where you're like, wow, they were, they almost beat Niagara Falls. Wow, they almost beat St. Joe's. The other loss that they have was to Fairport. Fairport is a powerhouse over in AAA in Rochester. So I believe those are their only 3 losses. Beat McKinley. They just really haven't.
But didn't they lose those games by more than double digits?
Yes, I think all 3. I know the.
So to me, that was a little bit more uncharacteristic to me. But
Yeah.
But you tell me. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're out there more than I am.
So I'm going to say it says a lot about the 3 teams that beat them and how good they are. And when we were talking earlier, and you mentioned the Canisius result and the Will South result, but it speaks to Canisius. Something I've been saying this year is I think there's a handful of teams that have really separated themselves from the pack already this year. And then there's another group, like a secondary, like you've got maybe a top 5 and then top the rest. Or, you're trying to vie for more relevance up within that. But I do think there's a little separation up at the top. I don't think there's many teams that are going to play a single-digit game with Canisius or St. Joe's. Those are really tough teams to compete with. Williamsville South lost by 17 points to Timon this year.
Yeah.
There's a little separation sometimes in those ways. Now, South went in and competed very well at Niagara Falls. So Niagara Falls seems to be a team that they can go in and play that 1-point game with Niagara Falls. They can find themselves and they can compete with the top. They can play a close game with the teams that maybe aren't in that top 5. Falls is a variable like that. I think Jamestown would be too. Jamestown's another team that has the ability to go in and compete with a Joe's or a Canisius, but could also find themselves in a game with a Lockport.
So I had an interesting question, and this is more of like, I don't know. You tell me.
Yep.
So Niagara Falls.
Then we'll go back to health.
Yeah.
And just button that up.
Yeah, let's button that up in just a second. Real quick. I'm taking an olive branch here. Niagara Falls.
Yep.
They see Joe's coming in. They see Canisius time and whoever. One of the top programs in the area, health, whoever. And they give them a real good game. Then they have another school come in like a Lockport or Ken West or Amherst or who have you. Are they bringing the same energy to that game than that they are, say, the Joe's, Canisius, or do you think it's possible they could be kind of trying a couple things to perfect something to get ready because they're guaranteed to go, basically guaranteed to go to Buff State, right? With AAA, you only got 3 teams.
Yeah. So I don't know, what they're trying. I don't think
like maybe they're throwing a different look at a defense.
No, I know what you're saying. I don't think Carlos Bradbury is necessarily going to experiment with defenses in a game against a team that can still give them a game.
Okay.
I think it's more, you tell Canisius, hey, we got a game against St. Joe's tonight in our place. We got a game at Canisius on Saturday afternoon. Not a lot left you need to say. There's a lot of pride within Niagara Falls that they want to come out and make a statement. They want to show everybody something. It's hard to inspire the kids the same way if you're playing a different team. And these seasons wear on, and there's different games that you're up for. There's different games you don't find yourself up for. It's just how it goes. The more consistent programs, the ones that just win consistently or always win the same way.
Doesn't matter what the jersey is.
Right.
We're going to give you the same energy no matter who you are, what your record shows.
Yeah. So health sciences
Back to health.
in the past has been that very consistent. We're gonna throttle everybody that we don't play within an inch of their life. And then this year in their 3 losses, they've gotten away from them in those 3 losses. I think 2 things. Health sciences brought in a couple transfers this year, and that'll take time to develop chemistry. Those are the two transfers that are really getting a lot of minutes for them right now. Playing together in that backcourt are Naz Young and Xavion Hawkins. That's their starting backcourt. They do a good job together. Losing Amir Moy is huge. Angel Pedro, who stood out to me the first time I watched the team play against Pioneer, then he wasn't there when they played Niagara Falls at Villa. You need consistency in a program. So I think when I look at health sciences, I think that is a team that I believe will win the Yale Cup. That's a team that I still think will win Class AA2 unless Ken West or Williamsville East, someone like that, even a Hamburg had something to say about it. By the way, Ken West plays Williamsville East tonight. A little spoiler alert. We'll get there. Yeah, I think health sciences still has a chance and will win a league title and a sectional title, and they're still a very good team, and they're still a top 10 large school. But you Amir Moy is awesome. You don't have him right now. Probably won't have him this year. You added a couple pieces. You lost your most important piece. That stuff takes time. Ty's an excellent coach. He's got guys there. Health is always going to be good.
He'll find a way.
Yeah.
To put his team in a position to win.
I would think so. That's what the good ones do.
I thought we'd spend a lot of time today on the CENTERCOURT Classic.
Let's do it.
Or most of the show. So you put a piece out. Did you put it out today or yesterday? The history of the
CENTERCOURT Classic.
Was that today?
I did that today.
Today. Okay. Let's talk about the history of the CENTERCOURT Classic. Actually goes back to you and your time with your good buddy, the late great Gabe Michael.
Yeah. So
Was that the Greg Dolan game that you came up with the idea? Greg Dolan was playing for Will South at the time, and I think they were going up against.
they were playing Health Sciences.
They were playing Health Science. I think that the ticket.
The ticket.
That was the first game that I think we did. We had the remember we did interviews after in that classroom,
Yeah.
and then right then and there you thought this guy was onto something. He's a total clown, but he's onto something.
Me being that total clown.
No,
You, me.
yeah,
So,
you didn't know who I was. Did you partake in those interviews?
I can't remember.
You weren't doing 5 questions at the time.
I remember where I was last night. So, but I do remember how this whole Center Court Classic came to be. It was
Okay.
Gabe Michael. It was Gabe Michael that wanted me to have my own event and said that you should have your own event, and grabbed me by the hand and said, we're doing this, because I tried resisting and acting like it would be too hard and I could never, and
Because you don't like the center of attention.
yeah, you don't.
Center court, center of attention.
Sometimes I don't. So, Coach Gabe was instrumental in the Center Court Classic ever becoming a thing. He wanted there to be one. He wanted it to be, where are we going to have it? We're going to have it at Williamsville South. It's going to be great. And he's the one that took the lead on that first year and really wanted to see it. He said, You've got the network, you've got the reputation, you use that, get some teams to play, put us in the headline game, let's do it. We picked the Health Sciences game. It all worked out wonderfully. We just did 4 games that first year. We had some
Were they
player
all
of
the same night?
some game MVPs.
They were the same night, though, were they not?
It was all on a Saturday. 4 games on a Saturday. They were on 2-hour blocks then, so it was like a noon to 4-6 scenario, or a 1-3-5-7 maybe it was. Yeah, it started small. I had 3 small school matchups that first year. Williamsville South and Health Sciences was your headliner. Both of those players in that game ended up going on and having Division I careers. Greg Dolan, I think, had 36 points in that game that night and a win for Williamsville South. It was a great game, great crowd. And that got the juices flowing. That got me confident enough to do it. And then the next year, I remember saying to Gabe, what do you think? And Southgate's like, I think you should, I think you're big time. I think you take this tour on the road now and you start bouncing it around to different venues. And that's what I did. We went to Villa Maria College the following year, then Williamsville North. It was going to be in Newport the year that COVID happened, and no classic happened, but it would have been over at Newport that year when Roddy Gale was in town. Hamburg it ended up at.
2 years in a row?
It was there 2 years in a row, because that's when Pat Colley came into my life, and I really liked Pat a lot and liked working with Pat. And after Pat stepped down and retired, called it a career over at Hamburg, we ended up at St. Joe's last year.
Because of Gabe.
Because of Gabe, yeah. Because, when I said, I don't have a venue now, and Gabe had been suggesting Joe's for a while, and like I always did with Gabe, I resisted everything he said at first. And
But Chad, it's right next door to Curry's.
he would tell me why it would be awesome, and I would tell him why it was too small, or why this and that, And he said, "Let me know when you're ready to listen to our offer. Let me know when you're ready to have a real conversation about this." And so I said, "All right, I'll sit down and listen." So he set up a lunch meeting, a sandwich meeting, as he would call them, with athletic director Brian Ankin and myself, and I believe Dean Adams was there as well. We went in and had a meeting, and St. Joe's, they were the right place. They showed up to that meeting very well prepared and very convincing of why the Center Court Classic would never be a better event than it would be if we let them host it. And it went there last year, and they did awesome.
Cool.
I can't wait to be back there this year.
I'm going to make a plea for a venue.
Fire.
Kenmore West.
Kenmore West. Well, I explored Kenmore West.
What do I need to do to get you to Kenmore West?
At the time, I just didn't get a reply from administration when I had reached out about it. But it's a beautiful venue. Kenmore West.
or Kenmore East. One of the
You'd
two.
have to have the bleachers pulled out on both sides.
Well,
Well,
yes. Kenmore East for sure can accommodate that. Kenmore West, I've never seen them pull the other bleachers out, and they do, regionals, sectionals, and things like that. We could have that conversation. Obviously, there's bleachers over there for a reason.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
there's bleachers over there for a reason. Let's use them. And I think the Center Court Classic could do that.
Oh, it would do it.
Plus, you've got the loft upstairs. You got the standing room only. I think we do very well over there. So let's talk about that over the next couple. Joe's has been fabulous for you. It really has. But I think what's cool about the Center Court Classic is it opens up opportunities for other venues to step up and showcase their gyms, their athletic centers or complexes, if you will. I like the fact that you can move that around. It's an event that can be moved around, I should say.
It can be.
It's your call.
Thank you.
At the end of the day.
It always is, right? If you know me and you know the Center Court venture I'm on, I can be stubborn. I can, people are always like, oh, let's go to this game or what about that? I just, at the end of the day, it's always been for me, I want to be able to be where I want to be. Yeah. I don't ever want to, I've got to go to this game tonight even though I'd rather be there. I want to just be able to go where I want to go.
Yeah. Yep. So here we are. Let's go through the matchups.
Okay.
It's
a good one this year.
And why don't you tell people how they can get tickets? I mean, I know I can go to your website, go to your Twitter handle, and get all the information, but for someone that has been kind of reluctant to go to the site or for whatever reason, how would they get tickets? How can they get into this event?
The easiest way to do it is on X, Center Court 42. It's the pinned tweet. There's the tickets. Just click it and buy it. They're available through GoFan.
How much longer will people be able to do that? Because the event's literally right around the corner.
It's a week from tonight at Tips. They can do it until a session sells out. Once a session sells out, I'll make sure to get that information out there to people that an event has sold out. We always make the teams all aware of that ticket link in advance of the public getting the same information and say, if the event sells out, it sells out. So we want to give you and your fans first crack at moving on buying some tickets.
You're at a lot of big events. You don't miss the big games. You see there's a lot more media and photographers and video guys around. How are you going to control that? Because Joe's does have a smaller space. Is that your problem or is that Joe's problem to deal with all the extra people that are going to come in and want to do videos and hype videos and things of that nature? Will they be shut out?
Well, I don't know. They'd have to put in a credential request, let me know that they want to come, let me know what they were interested in doing, but
who would they go to? Would they have to go through Brian Aiken at Joe's or they come to Chad?
They come to me. They go to Brian and hear from me on it, whatever. But I mean, ultimately, Sean Turry will be there shooting pictures. It's not a streamed event. Clevis was there last year from the Buffalo News doing some coverage. I mean, there's not a lot of space to be overly accommodating with media tables and such. It's a narrow baseline. If you are a credentialed member of the media with one of those state-issued media passes and you show up at the door with that on and you want to come in and shoot a picture or something, or you want to walk in because you're Channel 4 with your camera and get some quick highlights to put on the news that night, you won't get turned away for that. But if you come with a credential that you generated yourself off a computer or a story about who you are, that's not going to work. So, yeah, I mean, it's a ticketed event. People buy tickets in advance. They come, they scan their ticket, they come in.
Good.
That's how it goes.
Good. So, listen, if you're running around at Canisius tomorrow and you don't have the proper credentials, you could stop by and find Chad and discuss it with him instead of just showing up unannounced with a computer AI-generated press pass.
So Friday, January 31st, the Center Court Classic tips over at St. Joe's, beginning with Akron, who is doing excellent this year. They're a one-loss team. They almost came into that event undefeated, Actually, they host Wilson tonight, so we'll see if they can pick up another win tonight. They got Medina on Tuesday. They're hitting that tough part of their schedule. But they're taking on St. Francis of the Monsignor Martin Association. So Akron, a team who has not spent a lot of time playing the private schools, is going to get a taste of one on Friday night. St. Francis, I believe this is their third Center Court Classic. And they got a nice team this year. I think that's going to be a very intriguing opening matchup of the event. The Friday night finishes up with St. Joe's, the host school, taking on Jamestown from the Southern Tier. Jamestown's got a nice squad this year. That should be a nice game. I know that the Rowdies will be out in force. Should be a great atmosphere on Friday night. Saturday, a little bonus session in the afternoon. You can pick up 3 games in that afternoon session. Starts with Timon and Starpoint. Tips right at noon. 1:45, you've got Williamsville South taking on Nichols, which I think is a sexy matchup. That's a nice game. Williamsville South and Nichols. Nichols is playing close games in their losses. They went and played a nice game at Canisius. They played a nice game against St. Joe's. A very close game with Timon. Now they get Williamsville South. Right. They played Timon closer than South did. So South has been a ranked large school. Nichols hasn't. That's an important game for those two on a Saturday afternoon. Then you get one more game in that session, Niagara Falls, who we've talked about already, taking on a former league rival and another top 10 large school, Lockport. So the Lockport Lions and Niagara Falls Wolverines at 3:30. End session 2. Then you come back for 2 more games that night. Health Sciences, who we've already talked about, in the headliner against Canisius. The penultimate game at 6:15, which is really going to be the one that people want to get there to watch, because I think it'll end up being the best game of the event, like it always is, when the Randolph Cardinals come to town. Randolph taking on Westfield. What are they? Well, they're the top 2 small schools in the area. Right? Randolph 1, Westfield 2. But more importantly, they're the top 2 teams in the state in Class C right now. Number 1 and number 2 in the state, playing at 6:15 at the Center Court Classic. Don't miss that. Games are not streamed. If you want to watch the event, you got to come there, buy a ticket, and watch it.
And I don't think enough people in this area have seen Carson Swanson. Here's a great opportunity for you to come see a very special player, in my eyes, who's set the career scoring record at his school. And he's not far off from becoming the all-time leading scorer in our area, right? He's got a little ways to go, but he's not far off.
It's a tall order right now, the way it all sits. He'd have to go on a rampage of scoring, which is possible, or extend their season, beyond the Section 6 championship.
Yep.
Maybe make a run at the artist formerly known as Glens Falls. Currently, it's in Binghamton. But make a run at the state championship in Class C, then he could definitely get it. I agree with you. If you've never seen Carson Swanson play, you should come and watch him play. Randolph is an exceptionally defensive program, and Carson Swanson isn't going to have his way, perhaps like he has against some other teams, but he'll still shine in that game. So will Drew Hind from Randolph. But Randolph has really been playing some good defense this year. That game's fascinating. It's a rematch of last year's Class C championship down at JCC, where Swanson hit a pair of threes in the final minute of the game, forced overtime. It was a good one.
You got a shout-out from a gentleman by the name of Dominic Taverna, watching you from Las Vegas.
DJ Dominic.
Yeah, he wants to give you a shout-out.
Well, I'd like to give him a shout-out. He was an enthusiastic public address announcer at Clarence High School in my earlier years, back when David Hill, David Hill.
That's cool.
Yeah, he was good.
Good.
Thank you, Dominic. Good to hear from you.
So the Classic, you've got 5 games Saturday, 2 on Friday.
5 Saturday, 2 Friday. Yes, sir.
You got a ticket for Friday, will not get you in Saturday?
Correct.
Okay, so there's
3 separate sessions. You got to buy a ticket for the session you want to come to, or buy a ticket for every session and call it a great day of basketball.
Best bang for your buck. Tough.
Take your pick.
That's
I
tough.
mean, I think
Joe's Jamestown.
Joe's Jamestown is awesome. I think that Westfield Randolph game is awesome. A Canisius Health Sciences game is one I don't ever want to miss. That afternoon session with 3 of them, that Nichols South, that Falls Lockport, little time and start point to start your day off.
Yeah.
I don't know. You tell me what the best value is. I would.
Tough
Yep.
to choose.
Yeah, just
All the
do 'em
officials
all.
signed and everything else.
Yeah, great officials for the event.
You don't have to sign those, of course. That's Arbiter does all that.
No, but the association got involved and wanted to help and make sure that there was good officials on these games, and there will be that, all 100 level officials. So you got some top area officials on this game. It will be well officiated. You're going to see a good whistle. And back to your point about Swanson and people getting a chance to see him and whatnot, if there's ever any debate about guys scoring points or who they're doing it against and would they be able to do it here or there, I think I'm qualified to answer that, and it's not always a blanket. Well, if this guy could do it here, then he could do it here. Carson Swanson would do it anywhere.
Yep.
If you're wondering, is he really one of the best players in Western New York? It's a yes. It's really not even a debate. Would Carson Swanson start for any team in Western New York? Yes, he would. He would start for any team in Western New York. I'm saying it.
It's a debate for people who have not taken the time to read up and watch this young man. That's who it's a debate for. And those people, their opinion doesn't really matter. If you haven't seen the kid play, you have really no reason to speak.
This is the 4th year I've seen him play.
Yeah.
Watched his whole career come along. Yeah, don't forget these guys play summer ball too.
Sure.
They play with different moving parts. They play against higher competition. Last year in the All-Star game at Sweet Home, Swanson was in an All-Star game. So you've got
the best of the best.
Spread out All-Stars. He was such a factor in that game throughout. So was Drew Hind. Drew Hind was playing for one team. Swanson was on another. Both of them were just, do they belong in that moment? 100%.
So that's the Classic. Those are the games. Again, next Friday and Saturday. That first game again is what time? Friday night?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. Okay, so yeah, get your popcorn ready. Maybe stop.
6 o'clock noon on Saturday, 6:15 Saturday night. Those are your 3 session start times.
Okay.
Because if you've got a ticket for the session, don't try and show up at 3:30 for just the Niagara Falls game. Come and watch some basketball. Get there. Get a seat,
Yeah, it's going to be crazy.
Whether fans leave or not, you might come in just for the Falls game, and the gym's already full from fans that didn't want to leave from the last game and are sticking around to get that Falls game.
Yeah. See a beautiful campus, too. Mm-hmm. So that's the Classic. And this is your, how many, is this again, number 7?
Number 7.
Number 7. How long does it take to put that together?
The actual lineup or just everything?
The lineup for sure, coming up with the games.
It takes a good prognostication of who's going to be good next year, and not just finding who's going to be good, who would be good to play each other, who should I not have playing each other because they're not going to want to play each other, or because they're not going to want to play each other a second time, or they're already playing each other, they're in the same league, however it's lining up. So you've got to be selective and thoughtful about those decisions that you make. And then there's always that chance that somebody leaves a team where you thought they didn't return, they transferred, they got hurt in the, case of Amir Moy this year, something like that. And then get good teams, make good matchups, and just making sure that, there's other events now, there's other things where you think you know your matchup, but until you make it known to those teams, I've had a game that I thought I was going to have, and then I tell them, so I'm going to have you play this team, and they're like, oh yeah, we're playing them in the coaches versus cancer or something. So.
Do you ever put a schedule together and it's together, it's confirmed, and a school had to pull out for any reason? Without naming names. You ever have a program pull out?
Yeah, that happened. Yep.
Is it hard getting teams into the Classic? Or are people calling you left and right? Hey, get us in, get us in, get us in.
It's never hard finding teams to participate. No.
Okay.
There's I usually get a lot more of that. I usually get a host of coaches who express we would love to be part of that sometime. You could consider us. We'd be happy to be in that.
Cool.
I get a lot of that, yes. And I've definitely also had people express interest in, hey, if you ever wanted to talk about us as a venue. So there is that.
You've brought teams in from other sections before.
Yep, just Section 5, but it's happened, I believe, 3 times.
Last year? Was it?
Last year I brought Victor.
Yeah.
Yep.
Was that Canisius, Victor?
That was Time and Victor.
Time and Victor.
Yeah, and that would have been maybe even better. So Timon won the state championship the year before, brought back 4 of their 5 starters, but then one of their key moving parts got hurt in the offseason, a lacrosse injury, and he wasn't able to be back for that game. And Victor, because they were missing that piece, never quite achieved what I thought they could have last year. By the end of the year, they were still an excellent team. I mean, they were the team that ended up representing Rochester and playing a great game with Jamestown at Buff State in the regional. So I had but it wasn't quite the same version of Victor even then in the Classic that they were in March at Buff State, because by then they had the player back. So
Do you know where the regional games are being played this year?
they're in Rochester.
We know they're there, but
I
don't know the
I'm
venues.
not positive. I think it's Gates Chili and Rush Henrietta again.
Why don't we come
Different
back?
high school.
We'll take another quick commercial. We'll come back. I know Tim's got to get going here, but let's get one more segment in. You're watching the Center Court Weekly Edition on Western New York Athletics.
Whatever Tim said, sure thing.
Need an electrician? Empire Electric is your residential wiring specialist. New builds, service upgrades, lighting, generators, you name it, Empire does it with hundreds of 5-star reviews that speak for themselves. Call Empire Electric today for your free estimate.
Education has power. Binghamton University students discover it, apply it, unleash it. Unleash your education today.
We're back. Center Court Weekly Edition.
Yes, with Frank Wolf, Chad Andrews, and Tim Gardner producing.
Center Court.
Yeah, Tim Gardner producing and doing camera work. Frank Wolf just taking up space, feeding Chad topics, compliments. Where did you, besides the obvious, Joe's Canisius last week, where was Nelson? Where did you see him?
I saw Nelson across the way. He was at that game. Interesting. You know where Nelson was on Monday?
That's I'm asking you.
He was at Hilbert.
I had a feeling.
Along with George Benson, along with Dean Adams, along with a lot of people.
Who's the other guy that always comes in with George? I don't know who that is. He's always sitting with
John Allen.
Johnny Allen. Okay, now I know.
Johnny Allen.
God, good dude.
John and George. George
Great
and John. They roll together.
George was
John lives
there.
in Hamburg.
Oh, does
George
he?
lives in Jamestown or
George
Falconer.
was there for the first game, the girls' Orchard Park.
Oh, that's how they do
Sacred
it.
Heart.
They watch all the
my
JV games when they go to the varsity games. They're always the first people in the gym, and they make an entire day out of it.
So George, it was good seeing you, buddy. I ran into him.
So
Monday.
these games over at Hilbert, they were all there, and they all had a good story for how their night ended. Every one of them. And so we live in Western New York, and they show lots of radar, and they'll keep you updated on the weather. Apparently, everybody missed that memo on Monday night. I didn't miss it, and they had a well-advertised snow band popping up over Hamburg. You know, that whole region. It did not look good. It was a pretty daunting one. And it was going to be setting up a little before that St. Joe's game started. And it was just going to unload some fury on everybody.
Oh, it did.
Well, it did, yeah. So I called Dean Adams the next day to say, hey, I just checking to see if you got home okay from Hilbert last night.
Slept in his car.
I took him an hour and a half to get out of the parking lot. He couldn't see. Hilbert's kind of a maze getting out. There was a whiteout. So, yeah, some cars ended up stuck in the parking lot for various reasons. I won't even get into how they got stuck, what they might have driven over.
Who they drove over?
So there's that. I know another one of my buddies ended up in the ditch and didn't get his car back until a day or two later. And another one took him, what was it, an hour to make it a couple miles? I mean, Johnny Allen lives in Hamburg. He lives right around the corner from Hilbert. It took George an hour to get back to John's house to drop him off. And then George started out to try and head back to Falconer, and it wasn't long before he was back over trudging through knee-deep snow in John's driveway going, little pig, little pig.
Oh, shoot.
Let me in. So George slept at John's house that night.
Poor guy.
Tough night, but amen. God's grace.
Yeah.
Sounds like everybody made it home alive that night, and everybody
Not all
lived
of
to tell
Tim.
about it, but
Well, Tom Prince was there, and
dangerous
not all
stuff.
of Tom's car made it back to his house. He lost a windshield somewhere.
Did he?
Yeah. Or I'm sorry, windshield wiper blade.
This was all Saturday night.
Yeah, just a windshield wiper blade.
Monday night.
Yeah. But Joe Kraus got home. Brian Gallo did a great job filling in. Did some play-by-play earlier in the day. He's a good dude, man. He's real good.
Yeah. Brian's doing good work for you.
Now Tuesday, well, Monday you got Niagara Falls Amherst. You're gonna go do that. We're not streaming that one, but you're gonna be there. Tuesday is the game though. Salamanca hosts Olean, and we'll be down there. There'll be the center court game. You and Rimo will head on down there. You got Jeremy Becker producing and Alex Colsty doing camera work from WNYA. So that's a game that'll be seen on the View from Center Court Tuesday. Olean at Salamanca. Any quick preview on that one?
Well, both of the coaches used to coach under Jeff Anastasia at Olean. Now one, Tim Kolzinski, is the head coach at Olean. The other is a head coach over at Salamanca. So now they are league rivals after being former coaches together on the same staff. Olean won the Class A2 championship last year at Buff State and brought back, I think, 4 starters from that team.
Okay.
And they don't have bad losses. They're a good team. I watched them put it to Fredonia pretty good earlier this year. I really like this Olean team. I think Olean will win another Class A2 title this year in March. And I think that this game is a rematch of a very exciting game won by Salamanca in round 1 at Olean. Salamanca has been off to a fantastic start this year. I believe they just have the one loss to Wellsville this year. So I think we're going to walk into a great game. I think the gym will be full. I think it'll be a very passionate, hard-played game, well-coached, well-executed by the players. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. But the game you're really looking forward to is happening tomorrow night at Canisius with Timon coming in. Let's get a quick preview of that one before we have to end today's show.
It's just another chance for the big three in the Monsignor Martin to dance. So Timon, Joe's, Canisius, they're all powerhouses once again this year. This is round 1 of those two dancing, Timon, Canisius. It's a rematch of last year's Manhattan Cup final, the Manhattan Cup final the year prior. So 2 years in a row, that's been your final. This year we've got round 1 of that. Canisius sitting number 1 in the rankings. Timon, the 2-time defending number 1. So pretty much back-to-back weeks, you've got this huge game over at Canisius. You know, like 3 weeks ago it was, hey, the number 1 against the defending 2-time number 1. Well, now that Canisius is number 1, that was when it was Joe's playing Timon. Now we have the same scenario again. We've got number 1 against the defending 2-time number 1. That's tomorrow afternoon over at Canisius. Be there or be square.
Jake Fyack will be on the call with Tom Prince on that one, so we're very much looking forward to showcasing that game on WNY Athletics Plus. WNY Athletics Plus, $4.95 a month. You know, you get every game we do for that month, obviously.
Yep.
It's a great deal. Yeah. I mean, last night we had a St. Joe's Timon hockey game you could have got out, so
It is a great deal. I hope people understand that.
You don't have to drive there. You could have seen the game. I think
You could set it up on your account for an automatic renewal, right? I'm going to pay $5 a month and get unlimited Western New York athletic streams for a year for $5 a month. That's $60 a year. Think about the crap that we waste money on in this society, in this world, on all sorts of different things, and you really think that $60 is going to change your life? Or think about the current economy we're in and the fact that you can go grab a minimum wage job at Mighty Taco and you can goof around and have fun with your fellow employees for an hour and walk out with enough money for 3 months worth of that subscription, right? In 1 hour.
And you're going to get at least 5 to 6 games a month. Minimum 5 to 6 games.
When you consider that our minimum wage is over $15 an hour, and then you're talking about a $5 expense or a $10 expense here and there, it's you really got to put things into those perspectives sometime and say, best model in life is stay busy, stay working, stay productive.
Leads me to one of my top questions for the 5 questions before we break. One of them was, Chad Andrews, a young 17, 18-year-old kid with working papers, maybe a senior or junior in high school. Where would you go to work? If you could go to any one of those jobs that's available for 16, 17, 18-year-old kids, where would you go work? What would you be doing?
I would be working at a restaurant because that is what I do. That's where I have my kids employed.
But anyone in particular? I want to pin this down. Where do you like to go? I could work here.
I mean,
is there a place?
I always like to support a privately owned establishment for restaurants as opposed to a chain, because the chains, they're really gonna, make you say things a certain way and act a certain way and try and strip the personality out of you and the corporate way into you. Now, they teach a lot of good things in chains, but I think that a good privately owned establishment where you learn so much in a restaurant, so I would always stand by that. It probably pays a little better if you're working for some gratuity. If you're a busboy that's got a restaurant minimum wage along with some gratuity on top of it, you're probably going to come out a little more ahead of the game. You're on your feet. You're engaged in that way. You're setting yourself up to become a waiter or a bartender or something else where you can actually make some decent income and help put yourself through school. You're working with other people of a similar age. Cooks and servers and other busboys and stuff. There's a lot of personalities in a restaurant. So I think you could find it to be an enjoyable experience.
Dominic had a question for you, not necessarily me, mostly you. Do you think that sectionals will ever get moved to UB Alumni Arena?
I don't think so, because I think that they would probably have a heftier price tag over there without knowing that. I think that venue might be a little too big for sectionals. I mean, my opinion is you couldn't find a better venue for sectionals for the boys than Buff State, because when you've got the right matchup, you fill Buff State. It's tradition. There is no bigger field for championship basketball than a Saturday at Buff State. It's wild.
You're going up
I hope they're always there.
You're from the Newfane area. If there was a game there tonight and people from out of town were coming in, not necessarily out of Newfane, Buffalo, Cheektowaga, Amherst, if they were heading up there for a game tonight, where would one stop for a nice meal before going into the high school? Where would we want to stop?
Brookside.
And why?
Brookside is owned by someone I used to work with and at the restaurant that I'm at. I'm at the Sunset Bar and Grill in Wilson, and before that it was the Boathouse, but it always had, at the time it had the same owner, and that's how I ended up at the Sunset Bar and Grill instead of the Boathouse when she stopped running the Boathouse. Anyway, the owner of Brookside I worked with at the Boathouse and at the Sunset Grill. She's great, and her son, who was a vital piece of that restaurant, also worked for me, with me right through there. One of the greatest bar backs and kids I've ever known. So those are the people that run that. I think they do a good job. It's a nice local establishment in Newfane, so Brookside would be my pick.
Cool.
Yeah.
What do you order there?
Whatever. I mean, it's an expansive menu. Take your time.
Okay.
Go through it. They got good wings, but they got good everything.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's going to do it for Center Court.
Did I get 5 questions? I feel like I got two and a half.
3. Well, one of them was from Dominic.
One's from Tim. Tim, what's your question? Are we done?
How long does it take you to get from here to, let's see, you're going to where again tonight?
I'm going to end up in Niagara Wheatfield.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about this real fast. Let's just your 2 questions in one. A,
Sorry, Tim.
what game are you most likely looking forward to tonight and why? And who are the other matchups? That's 3.
There's 3 games. The one I'm looking forward to the most, probably the first one. I think most people would say the second one. I'll say the first one. The first game is Kenmore West against Williamsville East. It's at 5 o'clock. Why? Because Williamsville East has been up and down this year. And they lost badly to Williamsville South, and they lost again to Niagara Falls at the event over at Hilbert. I think they've got to be hungry and trying to find their way and figure out what's going on. I think they play an opponent who is a very similar strength in Kenmore West, who has actually been the opposite of Will East. They've been consistent this year. And I just want to see how that plays out. I want to find out who is better between those 2 teams. I think they're going to play a very competitive game. The next game is Amherst against Lockport, which also I think is an outstanding game to watch, and that's why I said a lot of people would pick the second game. I think you really can't go wrong with either of those first 2 games. Lockport and Amherst, 2 top 10 teams. We're going to find out which one should be ahead of the other. I think that game could absolutely go either way. Last time I watched Lockport, Mike Griffin left the game, a starter who averages 16.9 points a game for Lockport. That was over a week ago at this point. He did not return to that game when he walked out with an ankle injury. My hope is that this extended layoff, because I don't believe Lockport's had a game since that, my hope would be that he's healthy and able to be in that lineup, because you always want to watch these games with everybody that can play. You want to see him in there. When you see a big game, you don't want it to be missing anybody. And I think if he's healthy and Lockport has a healthy roster, then they should be a very good opponent for an Amherst team that has not been disappointing whatsoever this year. Last game is Sweet Home taking on the host school of the event, Niagara Wheatfield. That'll be my first look at the Falcons this season. I have seen Sweet Home a couple times. I believe Sweet Home has the best team they've had in a few years, and I think they'll be even better next year because they're young. I like what they're doing there, so that's your event tonight.
Cool. Eric O'Brien always does a good job up there.
Eric O'Brien's pretty cool. I like Eric.
We like Eric, too. Okay.
Coach of the year. He was a former coach of the year, along with the likes of Tony Polverani, Ryan Mountain.
Yeah, Mentee. All right, so the next time people see you or hear you will be Tuesday, Olean at Salamanca. We want to thank the folks at Salamanca for having us down there, allowing us to come in and do what we do.
Yeah, my voice will be on air on Tuesday night for that game. Maybe we'll squeeze in another show between now and that Center Court Classic next week. Either way, if you come to the Classic, you'll hear lots of my voice. I do PA at that event, and really hoping everybody comes out to support it and really just support the kids on the court, watch some great basketball, be part of something. Center Court Classic is really cool. It's well attended. It's a good atmosphere. The games are very competitive. Go to theviewfromcentercourt.com and check out the history of that event, which I now have up there. I've got every result from every Classic that we've had, some records, a few paragraphs on how it all started. Yeah.
I would say it's a crown jewel event. There's some crown jewel events. This is definitely one of them. The Lions Club game in July is another one. And then I think Tom's All-Star games with the baseball and softball are slowly starting to become crown jewel events here in Western New York. So I would go with those ones.
Okay. So mine, I've got the crown jewel of basketball,
Yes.
and it's a regular season event
Yes.
as opposed to an All-Star game.
Correct.
I'll take.
Well, he also does baseball, softball day at we did it at Niagara Falls last few
Yeah.
years, and that might be a crown jewel event too. So a couple surrounding. Nothing for hockey. though.
Tom's the baseball guy.
Yeah.
Tom's a treasure.
All right, guys and girls watching. Tim, thank you for producing. Chad, thank you for soldiering up,
Thank you, Tim.
driving down here, and now you're going right back up to Niagara Wheatfield. I'm Frank Wolf.
Well, I'm actually
know.
zipping to Kenmore first.
Oh.
Hurries.
German potato salad. Cajun baked or broiled fish.
Cajun
It's all
broiled
you.
German.
It's
Yeah.
all you. All right.
No, I walk in, they fire up the order.
Get your tickets for the Center Court Classic next week. Support a great cause, a great man, and a great event. Chad Andrews from Center Court. And we'll see you guys next week. We'll do a show. We'll let you know when we're doing it, but we'll do another one.
Thanks, everybody.